Hello everyone, Pahimar here with the next episode of my Let's Mod series. Today's episode we will be completing part 2 of episode 3, Helpful Tools in Setting Up Your Development Environment. In the last episode we reviewed the different kinds of tools you can use for Minecraft mod development. We talked about required tools, that being Java, the JDK of Java. We discussed the Minecraft Coder Pack and the idea of having something to write code in. And then we talked about the additional tools. We talked about things like APIs, IDEs, various editing applications for images and sounds, how to do versioning, etc. Today's episode we're actually going to go over how to use these tools. So I've decided not to really cover the installation and configuration of these tools because a lot of them are fairly simple, and there's a lot of really good tutorials out there for those that are having trouble with that, and that could eat up a few hours of video myself just redoing that. So today we're just going to actually go over how to set up a development environment in the way that I would normally set one up. So I think it's time. We've probably all had enough of PowerPoint. I think it's time we actually we get to work, start looking at some stuff. So let's get rid of PowerPoint here. Minimize that and say goodbye, and now we to our lovely desktop. So I think first, why don't we start with showing what my development environment looks like. So this is my Eclipse workspace. I'm using Eclipse Juno. I should have probably clarified that in part 1. So Eclipse Juno currently is the most up-to-date version of Eclipse as of the end of February 2013. If you're watching this from the future, there might be later versions. Use those. So what I wanted to show you here is I wanted to show you how I have my code window here. I have the class outlined to the right, and if you're familiar with Eclipse you probably already know all this stuff here. What's of particular interest that I like is that I can have multiple Minecraft projects inside of my Eclipse. So this is a single workspace that has 2 different Minecraft projects in it. So a workspace in Eclipse is kind of an encapsulated work area that you can have multiple projects in. So here you can see I have Buildcraft, and I also have Equivalent Exchange 3. Inside of here you can see all the packages and classes related to Equivalent Exchange 3 that I can easily open up and reference. Here I actually have the main Equivalent Exchange 3 class file open. I can see all my different resources, and this is done in such a way that it would work inside my development environment the exact same as it would inside of Minecraft itself. A big plus for doing it this way, and why I like doing it, and why I recommend it. As well as you can see the normal Minecraft classes itself. So this is the end goal. This is what we're working towards. And so now I'm going to close Eclipse, and I'm going to show you how we get there. So when it comes to doing any kind of development, you actually need an area to do your work first. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to set up a place where we can store all these files. So on my drive I have a development environment folder called development. I'll show you what's inside of it first before we go ahead and replicate that for Let's Mod. So let's open that up. I have 4 directories within development. I have an API directory, I have my Eclipse workspace directory, I have my MCP directory, and I have my source code directory. So we'll go into each of those individually. The API directory I just kind of break down by MC version. But inside of here, this is where I like to keep a local downloaded version of MCP and Forge. If the sites were ever to go down and I needed to rebuild something, I at least have a file I can come back to. So these are just zip files downloaded from the MCP website and the Minecraft Forge download site, which is files.minecraftforge.net. You'll find links for these things in the description below and on my website. Moving back up, we have my Eclipse workspace. And inside of here you can see the different projects inside of it. We're really not going to need to worry too much about this. Eclipse kind of handles this all for us, so it's just important to note that this is where that workspace is. The MCP folder is kind of the bulk of doing development. Inside of here is all the directories and files associated with decompiling Minecraft, recompiling it, re-obfuscating it, as well as this is where you'll have Forge installed to the development the source of Forge will go down here. Forge has 2 downloads, I should say. There's the source files. This is what you'll need if you're doing development of Forge mods. And then there's the universal download. The universal download is for the everyday user to install into their Minecraft so they can play Forge mods. We're going to be concerned with the source version. So everything's in here. The beauty of having MCP separate from my Eclipse workspace, because you may have noticed there's an Eclipse folder in here. MCP and Forge come with a pre-built up Eclipse workspace. The downside of having it this way, however, is that it's a little bit more challenging to fix your MCP versions between various versions of Minecraft as well as Forge. I happen to like it this way. It keeps my code and my workspace completely separate of the MCP space. And you'll notice that when we get into videos covering how to update mods between versions of Minecraft. So then I have my source code directory, and this is where I have all my version controlled code go into. So if we drill down in Quill Exchange 3, you can actually see all the files here are the exact same as I have inside of my GitHub repository for Equivalent Exchange 3. So you'll see here there's the resources directory, my common code directory, etc. So this is how we're going to set this all up. So now that I've shown you how my directory structure looks, we are going to replicate it for the Let's Mod series. So we're going to create a Let's Mod development directory, and we are going to create the same 4 folders. You could do more or less. I can spell things properly too, I hear. But this is how I do it, and feel free to modify this to your own tastes. So, source. And I'm just going to copy over these archives into this directory. So we have that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set up this project inside of GitHub. So I'm going to load up GitHub, which I just happen to have handy. And this is what, so how about I log out and I actually show you what it looks like. So GitHub is available at github.com. You can create an account for free. I'm just going to sign in again. When you sign in for the first time, you'll see your landing page. When you want to create a repository for the first time, there's, for any time I should say, there's a link in the top right for creating a new repo. So we just need to give our repository a name, the Let's Mod mod. And that's actually the name of this mod we're going to make to get the Let's Mod mod. It's terribly original. So it's going to be a public repository, anyone can see. And we're going to initialize this directory with an initial README file. So we're going to go create repository. And here we go. We get ourselves a brand new project inside of GitHub. Now we need to get this onto our local machine. So you'll notice here, pardon me, is a URL, an HTTPS URL to clone this GitHub repository to your local machine. Clone basically means I'm going to copy it. So I'm just going to copy that link. I'm going to bring up my handy dandy command prompt window, and I'm going to migrate into my source directory in my new Let's Mod development folder. And so now the command to get a remote repo cloned onto your local is git clone. You'll paste in the URL for the repository, and then you can also specify the name of a directory to put it into. So we're going to call it the Let's Mod. We hit enter, and now if we go back to our Directory Explorer window, our Windows Explorer, if we look inside Let's Mod development source, we'll see a Let's Mod mod, and we'll see readme.md, which is the initial README file that GitHub produced for us. So the next thing we're going to do is, because this mod is going to be licensed under the LGPL version 3, one of the requirements of that is that we specify, that we include a copy, a physical, an electronic copy of the license. It'd be awfully interesting to have a physical copy online. So I'm going to be a little bit lazy again, and I'm going to go into my equivalent exchange 3 one. And these two files right here, copying and copying.lesser, these are two required files for the LGPL. The copying is the GPL license, and copying.lesser is the LGPL, the terms that are extra on top of the GPL. So we're going to copy those, and we're going to stick them inside of the Let's Mod directory. As part of, there's the second half of why I'm doing this. The other half of that is we've now created a remote repo, we've cloned it locally, and I'm going to show you how to put files back up into the remote repo using the SmartGit application I discussed in part 1. So we're going to load this up, and I'm going to, for the first time, we have never used this application with this new repo. I'm going to open an existing local repository. We've already cloned one down. So it's already detected it. The Let's Mod development source, Let's Mod directory. Give it a project name, and here we go. So now we're looking at this repository here. So these are the local, no, this isn't the local window. Anyway, what's important here, skipping along, is in this window right here is the files that have got some changes that you can do something with. So you can see here that it's untracked, it's not in the remote repo. So if we select these files and we hit commit, and we specify a commit message, initial commit of LGPL license files, and if we were to do commit and push, so commit pushes the changes to your local repository, commit and push pushes it to your local and your remote repository. So if we were to come back to GitHub and refresh this page, we'll now see that these two files are now into the remote repo, onto GitHub. So this is how you will push changes you've done to your system into GitHub. And conversely, you can actually hit the pull, and what pull will do, pull will go to the remote repo and go, okay, what's different here from local, and pull those versions down. So this is the short, easy, 10,000 foot version of how to use SmartGit and Git to do version control in this development environment. So we're done with this for now. We've got our file set up there. Now what we need to do is we need to set up our MCP and Forge system. So inside the MCP folder here, it's empty right now. What we need to do is we need to open up the contents of this zip file, and I happen to be using 7-zip, another free open source archive utility. I'm just going to hit Control A to copy all the contents of this, and actually I'll just do this to make it a little easier to see. So let's mod MCP. I'm just going to hit Control A, click and drag into the open window, and I've extracted the contents of the MCP zip into my MCP folder. Moving back, we can close this. I will now open up the contents of the Minecraft Forge source download. At the time of this video recording, 5.3.4 was the most up-to-date version of Forge available. We will come into MCP, and this is where you install this. So here we have all our MCP folders, files that we got from the MCP zip file. We'll do much the same. We'll click and drag the Forge folder into the MCP folder. So now inside of your MCP folder, inside of our Let's Mod development directory, I will just show this for difference. The currently highlighted files are the files provided by MCP, and this is the files provided by Forge. So now that you have everything in the proper directory, we need to install Forge. And this is the part that's going to take some time. So inside of the Forge directory, there is two install scripts. There's a command prompt version, so this is for Windows, and there is a shell script. This is for Linux, Unix, and Mac. So all you have to do is execute the script. There we go. And what's going to happen now, and unfortunately I can't widen this any further, is the Forge source installer is happening. So it's going to download a few extra files. It's going to download some external libraries that are necessary. Specifically it's going to download some Forge mod loader required dependencies that allow it to do some of the things it does. It's going to download the LWJGL, the lightweight Java gaming library jars that come shipped with Minecraft, as well as it will download a copy of the Minecraft jar and the Minecraft server jar from Mojang's website. And before you get concerned about it, this is okay to do. Tobias from Mojang has said that this is fine to do, so no need to worry there. So what's happening right now? The Forge installer is running MCP right now to actually decompile Minecraft. It's going to use a Java decompiler called Fernflower. This will take a varying amount of time depending on how powerful your system is. My system, this will normally take about 5-6 minutes. Some people it could take upwards of 20 minutes. So I am going to stop the recording right here, and I'll come back when this install has finished. So now the Forge and MCP installer has finished up, and we can continue on with work on setting up our development environment. So just to show you briefly what happens, I think I have enough of a buffer here. So you can see here, this is MCP downloading and patching. Let me say that again. This is MCP decompiling and renaming the Minecraft files to something that we can read. And then you can actually see here this as well. This is the Forge installer injecting our patches, the changes that we all do to as part of our compatibility for Forge. And at the bottom, when it's all done, you'll see a press any key to continue, so we shall do that. The window goes away. So now we're looking at our MCP directory here, and we can see we got a little bit more than we did before. Namely, we also have this source directory. If we go into the source directory, we'll actually see this is where all the decompiled code goes. So one of the things I should explain is historically all Minecraft code would end up inside of the net Minecraft source directory. Forge a while ago repackaged, and by repackaged it just kind of reorganized where a lot of these files go to make it a little bit easier for a developer to find these things. So instead of just, in the past, you would end up with a directory here that's just full of stuff, and it was a little bit more challenging to see things because there's a few hundred items in here. Now you'll be able to see, if I want to see how something's done as an item, I can look inside an item, and hey, look, here's all the items in vanilla Minecraft. If I want to see how something's done to world objects, hey, look, here's everything related to worlds, and so on. So it's a little bit different than it was in the past. So if you're looking at tutorials where inside of the source directory, inside of MCP, there's just a ton of stuff, and you look at yours and there's not, this is the reason why. Forge has reorganized things to make it a little bit easier to use for developers, and then the MCP reobfuscation script will change that all back and put it back out in a version that Minecraft knows how to use. So you don't need to worry about this change screwing things up. It just is designed to make things for you as a developer a lot easier to find. So now that we have MCP installed and all decompiled and everything, and we have our source set up, we can now see about setting up our Eclipse workspace. So I'm going to load up my Eclipse. Once again, this is Eclipse Juno, and I get to specify the workspace I'm going to be working in. So Development Eclipse is where my normal workspace is that I showed you in the beginning. We are going to select the Let's Mod Development Eclipse, so that's this folder right here. Hit OK, and it will now create the workspace. So this is what you see in Eclipse for the first time when you create a new workspace. You get a nice welcome window. So we can just close that by hitting that tab. And this is the general layout for Eclipse. So I kind of glossed over it in the beginning. On the left hand side we have the Package Explorer. This giant block in the middle is the actual code window where you'll be doing all your changes. And by default it comes with a task list window, an outline window, and then kind of a collection of tabs, kind of the everything bottom bar. I happen to don't use the task list window. I prefer a larger outline window, so I'm just going to close this, Just resize this a bit. Here we go. The very first thing you do inside of here is you want to create yourself a new Java project. So we are going to create the Let's Mod Java project. We happen to have the Java 1.7 JDK installed. We'll hit Next. So in Eclipse, the very first time you create a Java project, it will automatically create this src source directory. We're just going to get rid of that. We're going to do something special ourselves. The other thing we have to do here at this point is we need to add the libraries for the project. So by default, because it's a Java project, Eclipse will include the Java library. What we need to do is we need to add the required Minecraft ones as well as the required Forge ones. So we're going to hit Add External Jars, and you'll see here the path where these things are going to be found is inside the MCP directory. Inside of here, there's two directories where we're going to find these jars. The Minecraft ones are going to be found in jars, and the ones that were downloaded as part of the Forge installer with MCP will be found in lib. So let's add the Minecraft ones first. We do not need to worry about the Minecraft server jar anymore. As of 1.3 of the official Minecraft release, the Minecraft jar includes the server jar, or rather, not quite that. Forge did some work to actually, as closely as possible, merge these two things, so you only need the one. So all we need to do to add for the Minecraft ones is we need to add jinput, lwjgl, the util, and Minecraft. So now we'll see them inside of our libraries. Now we just need to add the ones that were downloaded for as needed by Forge and Forge Mod Loader. So we'll go back up to the MCP directory. We'll go into lib, and we're going to need only 4 of these. We're going to need Argo, ASM all, we don't need the source one of it, bcprov, Guava, and we don't need the source of Guava. These are just necessary to include as part of the licensing for it. So now we have 8 external jars added to the project. We'll hit Finish. You'll notice to the left here, now we have all of these jars as referenced libraries inside of this Java project. We'll just clean up this automatically generated folder. We don't need it. So now that we have that all set up, we need to do a couple of customizations to the Eclipse environment itself. So the MCP Eclipse workspace that's shipped as part of MCP and Forge has some customizations to kind of turn off a lot of warnings and that'll pop up just related to some of the output that comes from the decompiler that is not really considered Java well-formed code. So we're just going to go through and turn some of those off. So pardon me while I just quickly load up my list of changes to do. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things we'll need to change here. So what we need to do is we need to, inside the window preferences, there'll be a new window that pops up. We're going to select Java, compiler, errors and warnings. The first thing we're going to do is I'll just close that up. So you see there's several sections here: code style, potential programming problems, name shadowing and conflicts, deprecated and restricted API, unnecessary code, generic types, annotations, and null analysis. We'll go from the top. In code style, we need to change non-static access to static member. We need to change that from warning to ignore. In potential programming problems, we need to change resource leak from warning to ignore, and we need to change serializable class with its serial version UID, warning to ignore. In deprecated and restricted API, we need to change deprecated API to ignore. In unnecessary code, we need to change local variable is not used, value of local variable is not used, to ignore. We need to change unused import to ignore. And we need to change unused private member to ignore. Lastly, in generic types, we need to change unchecked generic type operation to ignore. as well as we need to change usage of raw type to ignore. We'll hit apply. We'll say yes to the full build, and that'll go on. So once again, the reason we're doing this is just to limit the number of warnings that pop up, because otherwise you can get a few thousand warnings, and it just makes it a lot easier to kind of see what is your stuff you need to worry about versus output mainly from the Fernfire decompiler. The other thing we're going to do inside of here, and the power of this will be shown in a moment, is we are going to set up what's known as a linked resource. So inside of Eclipse, when you're going to start showing, setting up folders and source folders, you can actually do it through a direct path to something, or you can do it via a virtual folder. And one of the ways you can do virtual folders is by setting up these initial linked resources. It's kind of like, here's the path to something, and here's the variable name for that, and then from your virtual folders you can reference that variable and just work from there. So it's really quite powerful. So to get there, once again, I'll just hit OK here. It's Window, Preferences. This time we're going to go to General, Workspace, Linked Resources. Now for us, we're going to want to set up three. First, we're going to want to set up the MCP location, and we're just going to point that directly to the MCP folder inside of our Let's Mod Development folder. So once again, this happens to be on my D drive. It'll be Let's Mod Development MCP. We'll hit OK, and we'll now see it in this list down here. The next two we'll want to do, and I always like to do them separately, is I like to set up a source code location for your mod and a resource location for your mod. I like to keep the resources. So resources are things like textures, song files, etc. Source is your actual source code. So I'm just going to abbreviate this to Let's Mod source location, and I am going to point it to the Let's Mod. And actually, what I should do is inside of here, I'm going to create two other directories just to clear this up. So what we have now, so if I were to open up my file browser and go into source and Let's Mod, we now have two new directories. We have a common directory. This is where our common source code is going to go, and resources. Add an S to that. This is where our art and sounds are going to go. So we can minimize that. So because we're doing the source location, we'll select common, hit OK. And similarly, we'll set up our resource location, and we will point it to our new resources directory. There we go. Now we've got our linked resources all set up. So now we need to start setting up some of our folders in here. So there's a number of ones we're going to want to set up. We need to link in from a file perspective, not just reference it as a library. We need to link in from a file perspective our jars and the libs, as well as the Minecraft directory. So we're going to start with the jars. So once again, we set up those linked resources, and now let me go back to this. So I'm going to right click on the project name, I'm going to go new, I'm going to say folder. I'm going to click advanced, link to alternate location. So this is going to use those new variables we set up. So we can see them here. We'll see our Let's Mod resource, Let's Mod source, and MCP. So inside of, we're going to use MCP because the files we're going to need to worry about, we'll start with the jars. So if we were actually to come back to our MCP directory, this is the one we're setting up right now, jars. We'll also set up lib. So here, we'll say that, we'll say finish. And so I'm going to quickly just run through some of the things that we need to change for Eclipse compatibility. It's really just mimicking what we have in the MCP space. So I'm just going to filter out what shows up in this list here. So I'm going to say only show me files and folders that are inside a bin. Inside a bin, we'll see these jars. So I'm going to right click on bin, and like I said, all I'm doing is I'm just setting up filters to limit what shows up inside of this file directory, and it'll be made apparent in a moment. So on the bin one, I'm going to add a resource filter to filter out only files that end in .jar. And then we have this natives folder. So these are a lot of native files for native operating systems. So these will be the files that Windows will use, that Mac will use, that Linux will use. So we're going to set up a filter here, and we're just going to say exclude everything. We don't need to worry about these files inside of Eclipse. Hit apply, and there we go. We have that all set up. Now we have the jars one set up. We are going to add the lib folder that's necessary. So I'm not going to open up the file window again, but trust me, it's lib. And you see here, resolve location, let's mod mcp lib. And there's nothing we need to do here in terms of filtering. We only needed to do it for jars. And I'll show you why we needed jars. If we were to come into here, so I'm going to right click on let's mod mod and go to properties. And we are going to want to go to Java build path. So that first window we saw when we created this project is right here, where we can see source, projects, libraries, order import. We want to be under the libraries tab. And the reason we want to be here is because 3 of these jars require knowledge of where that native folder is inside of the jars directory. These jars need to know where to go for their specific operating system related files. So we're just going to start at the top, so JUnit. If you hit the down arrow to the left of it, you'll notice this native library location. Double click on that. And here we're going to need to actually say where to find the natives for this. So we're going to hit workspace, and you'll notice, here we go, it's right here. In our side of our workspace, we set up the path to those files. So I'm just going to copy this because we're going to need it for 2 other jars. We'll hit OK, and there we go. So we also do this for lwjgl util, pardon me, as well as lwjgl. And there we go. Now all of our libraries are set up properly, and now we can start adding the Minecraft source. So this is going to be very similar to how we set up jars in lib. We're going to hit new, folder, link to alternative location, linked folder. Because we're going to do the Minecraft one, it's located inside of the MCP directory. And I'll show you again here. Minecraft source is in source, Minecraft. So that's what we need to worry about here. So MCP location, we see it here, /source/Minecraft. Hit finish. And now inside of here we can see all of these files that we see inside of this directory. Now what we're going to do to be able to really utilize the advantages of Eclipse is we're going to say that this is a source directory, or source folder. So I'm going to right click on it and go new source folder. For folder name, I'm going to hit browse. I'm going to select it from the list of folders inside of this project. I'm going to hit OK and finish. So what's going to happen now is you notice here in the corner Eclipse is rebuilding the workspace, and you'll notice that the icons changed for Minecraft. If you hit the left arrow there and expand it down, you'll notice, hey, look at all these packages here. If I were to open up the Minecraft block one and hit block, I can now actually see it rendered inside of Eclipse as a Java class. I can do all kinds of the nice things that Eclipse offers, like code completion, looking up how things are called and whatnot. This is the beauty of setting up source folders. So now that we have Minecraft in here, why don't we go ahead and add our 2 mod folders, our source folder and our resources folder. So we're going to do it much the same way. Folder, advanced, link to alternate location. This time we're going to select, we're going to add the source code first. We're going to select the source location. Hit OK. We'll see that it goes to let's mod mod common. Let's just rename it to common. And there's nothing in here right now. We'll change it to a source folder, much the same we did Minecraft. And there we go. Now if we were to look in the file directory here, and let's go back up to the let's mod development folder. So source, let's mod mod, common. and I'll just create just some file in here. Let's call it let's mod Java. There we go. If we were to come back to Eclipse and refresh it, there we go. It shows up inside of here. There's no code in it, so it's not rendering how it should, but you get the idea. Similarly, let us add the resources folder. So LMM resource location. I'll change it to resources. Actually, I always like to have the mod name or acronym at the beginning of this, because that way I can easily tell that this is my resources versus Mojang's or whatnot. So I'm going to hit finish. So there we go. Similarly, I'm also going to make this a source folder. And the reason for having your resources which aren't code as a source folder is that way the same path to find the files inside of your development environment works when you ship your code as release. So the way you have it set up here will work exactly the same as when you release it. It makes finding textures a lot easier, sounds a lot easier, because it's not, here's the version it is for me in development, here's the version for me when I release the mod. It used to be a big problem, and this is really a strength of that. So now we have Eclipse basically set up exactly as I have it myself set up. The advantages of doing it this way is that if I were to ever need to, and I'll open up this window again, if I were ever need to rebuild my MCP directory, like completely delete it and rebuild it, something got screwed up with it, I don't need to worry about losing all of this customization that I did, because it is completely outside of MCP. So if there were to be a new release of MCP, it's really easy for me to update. I don't have to worry about finding a special way to extract, pardon me, I didn't mean to hit the mic. I don't need to worry about extracting out my code from the MCP stuff. It's all taken care of already. It really modularizes it, so I'm really a big fan of that. Probably the only thing I should show you still to do is actually how to launch Minecraft inside of your Eclipse. So you'll notice on the top here, there's these green icons here. One of them is called Run. If you hit Run, it's going to ask you how to run this mod. So we're going to say Java application. It's going to do a quick search of everything, and it's going to ask, what class should I use to start it as? So what class should I use to run it? You're going to want to select Start. Hit OK, and now you'll see FML is just setting up everything. So FML is the Forge mod loader. And there we go. We have Minecraft working inside of Eclipse, just like you normally would. You can see here we're using MCP 726A, FML version this, Forge version that. We can even hit mods and actually get details for everything. This is exactly as if you were to have set it up, just installing Forge on your normal client as a player. There we go. So I hate to end it, but we're going back into PowerPoint. So in this episode, I showed you how to set up your development environment with a good selection of the tools that we talked about in part 1. In the next episode, we are actually going to create our first mod files, and we will begin development on the Let's Mod mod. So once again, follow me on Twitter for updates on the series and all my other development endeavors. Like and favorite these videos on YouTube, subscribe to me to get these automatically, and visit my website pahimar.com for all my development related news, helpful links, links to other tutorials, mod developer websites, and like I said in part 1, I'm going to have links up there for all of the tools that I listed in part 1. So thank you again for following along with the series, watching it. I look forward to the next episode and actually getting some code done with you guys. I'm really excited, so see you next time.